It's time for the Brouhaha Sports Show. Brouhaha Sports with award-winning sports writer Dale McKee and co-host Marshall Wood. Talking sports with the legends of the game and famous sports personalities. Brouhaha. Now to Marshall and Dale with tonight's guest.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the first Brouhaha post-2024 Super Bowl. But we don't stay away from that. No, we won't. How you doing, Dale?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
I'm doing fine. I'm kind of excited about the Super Bowl.
Really? It was a good one, wasn't it?
Yeah. I guess I should have looked up and see how many's been into overtime.
2.
That was the second one?
Yeah. New England beat Atlanta one year.
Man, I'm glad they beat them. I don't like the Dirty Birds. I don't like it.
That was a game Atlanta was up 27-6.
Oh, yeah. That was so sweet.
Yeah, and you know who the head coach, you know who the offensive coordinator was the Falcons that year?
Who?
Kyle Shanahan.
I'll be darned.
Yeah.
And now look.
So he got another overtime. but I'll tell you what, I was impressed with the 49ers. I mean, they played hard and they dominated early. You know?
Yeah.
They just had some bad luck there at the end. I think the luck was Mahomes, you know. He made some big plays. Chris Jones came up big time.
How many catches did Kelsey have in the first half?
1 for 1 yard.
How many did he have in the second half?
I'm not sure.
You know the difference?
Mm-mm.
The guy that was covering tore his tendon running out on the field to start the second half.
I saw that guy.
Yeah, that was the guy that kept him from catching passes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
He
was open a few times in that second half.
Yeah, it's interesting, you know, how little subtle things, you know, can make a difference. Don't know if it did, but he had 1 catch in the first half.
Yeah, well, that blocking that extra point was big time. But yeah, you know, the Chiefs did what they had to do. Sometimes they couldn't get to Purdy, the 49er quarterback, but they'd just stand there, and when he got ready to throw, they'd just stick their hands up. Knock the ball down. I couldn't tell you. I counted at least 5 or 6 times they knocked the ball down. You know, but Chris Jones, he's
a monster.
Man, when he wanted to go get the quarterback, he went and got him.
He's really something.
He put so much pressure on him. Purdy had to throw the ball twice, and it was too long for his receiver because he was having to rush the throws.
That's a big man too.
Chris Jones is going to definitely be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Heard it here first.
No, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a gifted player, and he's won a couple Super Bowls, and you know that's one of the parts of the resume that they like, Super Bowl champion.
Yeah. I was having a conversation speaking about Super Bowl champions with my friend James Rat Williams. Mm-hmm. We were talking about, you know, Mahomes was 3 Super Bowl wins, and he said, but you know, somebody said he's the greatest of all time, and and James was talking about a sports writer said, well, you measure them by Super Bowl rings, don't you? Of course, you know, he's got 3, Brady's got 7, but I don't think. But if you do the math, let's see how this works. What's Mahomes been playing that's 7 years, since 18, and he's won 3, and Brady, I don't know, he played, 23 years, and he won 7. So if you do the math, Mahomes on a little faster pace than Brady.
If you remember, Brady won it, what was it, his second and third year in the league. He won back-to-back, second and third year in the league. So, you know, it's who you're surrounded by, too, you know.
Yeah.
And, you know, this free agency.
Team sport.
Yeah, free agency, you know, some of these guys, they just want to go follow the money, you know.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I mean, you really can't blame them. I mean, it is a business. I mean, we love it as a sport, but the players that play the game, it's a business.
Yeah. It's a big business.
Yes.
Yeah. What was the biggest impression that the Super Bowl that you got from the Super Bowl?
Impression.
Yeah, what made the biggest impression on you? Taylor Swift?
No, I think I've seen. You know, I'm not have nothing against the young lady. I think it's, you know, every time 87 caught a pass, they showed her. You know. Well, you know, I think I'd be excited too, you know, if my one of my sons were playing the Super Bowl and they caught a pass, so I'd like for them to show me. Yeah. But they're the only ones. That's really the only ones that really ever showed the whole ball game. I mean, there's other parents and girlfriends and wives there that could have been shown too if
they're not worth $1.1 billion.
Well, that's true too. and the girl did leg it there. She came all the way from Tokyo.
Yeah, she worked to get there.
Yeah. She did. Yeah. And she's followed them all around all year. So like I said, I don't have anything against her. I just think it's kind of sometime they oversaturate us with her.
Yeah. I wonder how many new Chiefs fans she bought on board, because I guarantee you she's probably got more followers than the Chiefs do, wouldn't you think?
I would think so. I would think so.
I bet the Chiefs got new fans because of her. Mm-hmm. But anyway, she makes an impact.
I think she's made the Chiefs money.
Yeah.
I'm sure 87 jerseys have been hot sellers.
Yeah.
Speaking
of 87, what did you think about his little encounter with the coach on the sideline? I'm going to tell you now, he walked up there and butted him.
Yeah, I don't approve of that.
He almost knocked him down. He stumbled.
Yeah.
I got a problem with that.
Well, I do too.
Yeah.
I think that's showing a lack of respect, I think the guy was pleading his case that, hey, I should have been in there on that play and the guy wouldn't have fumbled. Well, you just don't know that.
Yeah.
You might think that, but, there's they have a system of how they sub. And why do you change in the Super Bowl? Yeah. You've done it this way all year. I mean, let the other guy, 84 that replaced him, I can't remember his name, he has played for the last 3 Super Bowl champions. He played for the Chiefs last year and Tampa the year before that. I think he's on a roll.
Uh-huh.
He is three-peated, and we'll try to find his name out before the show's over.
Okay. All right. Well, speaking of the show, who you got coming on board tonight?
Well, I got a legendary Mississippi sports writer that started out in Meridian, and he ended up at the Clarion Ledger doing sports for a long time, and then he got into features, and he's written some books about NASA, the space deal. And so he's quite an accomplished writer.
Yeah.
And his name is Billy Watkins.
Billy Watkins.
Yep.
That's a well-known name around the state of Mississippi.
Yeah, and what he's going to talk to us about is his thoughts on the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But he's also going to tell us about the various Super Bowls that he's covered as a sports writer.
Yeah.
Covering Mississippi figures at these events. You know, like he was there for Eli Manning. I think he was out there in Arizona when the catch was made.
The catch,
yes. And
they had a big old piece of double bubble gum on top of that.
Yeah. And
that was something else.
Yes. And so he's just going to tell us about, the atmosphere around the Super Bowl, before the Super Bowl, after the atmosphere, after the Super Bowl, things of that nature. But Billy's a great interview, and he's a good guy.
Be a good one. So let's don't waste any time. Let's get on to him, Dale.
Okay.
And we'll see what Mr. Billy Watts got to say right after we come back from this commercial break. See you after the break, folks.
Phillips Building Supply in Laurel, your hometown building supply store since 1954. We are locally owned and pride ourselves on helping our customers find exactly what they need. From foundations to roofs to doors and windows, Phillips has it. For tools, hardware, lumber, and plywood, visit Phillips Building Supply.
Welcome to the show, Billy Watkins. How are you doing today, Billy?
Man, I'm great. How about y'all?
We're doing really, really well. Listen, we appreciate you being on the show again. We really enjoyed your last interview with us, and we'll let you get into that as we wrap it up about some of the books that you've written. And I've already introduced you as, a long-time veteran Mississippi sports writer. And but let's get into one thing. I saw an interesting post that you put out the other day about your, of course, we had the Super Bowl yesterday, and we'll get into those thoughts in a minute, but tell us about your past experience covering the Super Bowl as a sports writer.
Well, I'll tell you, after watching the Super Bowl yesterday and last night, it's changed so much since I covered it. Just when Eli won his first one, in 08, and just in those few years, it's changed so much. It's so much more glitz and glamour, and the tickets are unreal, and it's just become so corporate and all that. I don't know. I'd like to know. I'd like to talk to some of the sports writers who are still covering it and were covering it when I was doing it. Just how much has changed for them. I'd be interested to know that. But I always loved covering it. A lot of sports writers didn't like to cover it because it was so many people there. But I always looked at it like, no matter what, I was covering history, and it was going to be people reading and watching, not necessarily my stories, but about this game forever. And I always try to kind of keep that in mind. But we usually had some good Mississippi angles to work with, and certainly they had that this year.
Well, listen, how many sports writers go to an event like that? Well, just media passes. How many do you think they sent out?
Oh goodness, it's I don't even know if I could offer an educated guess, but it's in the thousands. In the press room, my last Super Bowl, I was seated just about every day. You're not assigned seats, but you kind of gravitate to the same seat every day. And a guy from Germany was sitting beside me, and that's the sort of thing. I mean, they come from all over, and some are there for TV shows, some are there for just these morning talk shows. It just. And then it just adds up. You got the print. Back then, you had a print media. You had the TV people, and it was just a madhouse. And I'm sure it's still like that. Well,
listen. In reflecting back on that Eli's first Super Bowl, that play. The catch. I'm sure that, when Eli and them got the ball against the Patriots that year, and the Patriots, and you correct me if I'm wrong, they were undefeated. And
they were.
And had Brady and Randy Moss, and they had some good players, definitely. But,
yeah.
But was it a surprising ending, the way that game ended, or was it just a surprise that the Giants were keeping close to the New England Patriots that year, because they were supposed to be the greatest team that ever played? They were going to be better than the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah, I said in a column the other day that when you interview players from both teams over 3 days, you can sometimes kind of get a feel of who might win. Sometimes more than others. But that week, I just remember there were two things. I think it's incredibly hard to go undefeated in the NFL. That's why it's been done one time, I guess, in the Super Bowl era that I can remember. The Dolphins, like you say. But and I just think that weighs on the team. I didn't necessarily feel that. But they weren't. They were real business-like, and that kind of caught me off guard. I expected a little bit more real confident team talking the way they did, but the Giants had this real quiet confidence, and I think having gone to Green Bay the week before and beating them up there in -2 degrees, I think gave them and Eli played like he did, was just off the charts that game. I think that gave them a lot of confidence and going into that game. And they had played them before and almost beat them in that game. And so I think playing them before and then playing them, after that Green Bay game, I think that really put them up. And the Giants had such a great defensive line; they were able to put pressure on Brady without blitzing a lot. So it just kind of played out. Brady did go down and put them ahead. Through to Randy Moss for a touchdown. So he gave Eli, I think, a little less than 2 minutes to go down the field. And I remember thinking Eli looks just like Eli did when he was a freshman or a sophomore at Ole Miss. I mean, he just looked calm and collected, and he did the job. I mean, it showed.
If you had to compare, I guess the quarterbacks in this game that was played this past Sunday, what was your estimation? Is you're already getting all these great quotes from these people that Patrick Mahomes may be the greatest of all time, and this and that. And I know he's a great quarterback, but a lot of times it's your it's your whole career. They just don't take, and I know he's had a great 7 years in the league, and he's probably brought as many Super Bowls to Kansas City as Brady did in the first 7 years of his career. But how would you compare Patrick Mahomes to Brady?
I wouldn't even come close to doing that yet. I mean, I think social media can be a great tool, but I think it can also be a terrible tool. That these people are promoted and talked about so much that they become bigger than they really are. Now, I'm like you, Bill. I think he's a really good quarterback, probably a great quarterback, but is he going to last as long as Tom Brady did? I mean, he's not going to win a Super Bowl every year. I mean, that's not going to happen. I would dare to say I don't think he'll win it next year because it's just too hard to keep doing. And is he going to have the longevity? Is he, they're making so much money. Is he going to keep the hunger and the love for the game? And are they going to keep that team together? One of the biggest part you talk about being surrounded by great people. We had a Mississippi guy yesterday, Chris Jones, that made 2 really big plays. He didn't sack Purdy, but he pressured him and was in his face. And they had on those 2 plays, they had a wide open receiver down near the goal line. And in my estimation, he saved the game for them. And being around people like that, I wouldn't dare compare him to Brady. I wouldn't compare anybody to Brady until they get within one of him. I just couldn't do that.
Well, going back to the game Sunday, supposedly the 49ers went in was a 2-point favorite. But they had a really tough time against Detroit Lions, and the Lions could have easily won that game also, and the Chiefs seemed to spurt early in the year, and but then they go on the road and they beat, I think, 2 quality teams in Buffalo and Baltimore. But what was going into the game? Did you think either team had the upper hand on them, or who would you have picked maybe to win the game if you'd have just had say, hey, name a team that's going to win? I'm not talking about the point spread, but who would you have picked?
I was shocked that the 49ers were favored. I mean, I just don't see how you can favor. When all's equal, you look at the quarterbacks, and Mahomes had so much more experience than Purdy, and had proven so much more than Purdy. Not saying that Purdy's not a really good quarterback. He is, and he played well yesterday. But I was really surprised. I'm not a betting man, but I would have put a bunch of money down to get Kansas City and 2 points yesterday. The field goal kicker is the best maybe I've ever seen, because I followed him at Georgia Tech. I used to watch a lot of Georgia State games because I like the wishbone. You don't see it anymore. So I'd watch them to watch him play the wishbone. And he was their kicker. And I can't tell you how many games he won with 50-yard field goals at Georgia Tech. So he's just so good. You take Mahomes, the kicker, I would have bet a lot of money on Kansas City to at least cover.
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely.
I want to change directions on you just a minute, Billy, if you would, and kind of make it a little personal with you in terms of you looking back on some of your trips that you've made. Tell us your favorite Super Bowl memory as you covered it.
Well, your first one is always great, and that was the Cowboys and the Broncos.
In New Orleans?
In New Orleans.
I was at that game.
You were there, I bet.
Yeah, I was. How many doggone? Yeah. Norris Weeks was playing quarterback for the Broncos.
Yeah, he sure did.
Yeah.
He sure did.
Ole Miss guy.
And boy, he's a great. He was a great guy, a great quarterback. I hope people remember him like they should.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed the Montana to Taylor game in Miami. That was a big one. Just to see a team like Cincinnati scrap, and you had that feeling all week that this team came to play.
Yeah.
And they came to play, and to keep it that close and then lose with 34 seconds left was tough. That was a good memory.
Yeah.
One of my toughest memories was I had my wife and I had our second child on January the 14th of '88, and I had to leave for the Super Bowl the next Sunday. And I literally, I remember we checked into the hotel, in one of the nicest hotels in San Diego, and I remember going out by the pier and the dock and just bawling because I wanted to be home.
Man,
I wanted to be home. I was like, I hope you don't forget me. I'm gone. You want to let a week go. But,
that's beautiful.
That was hard. That was hard to do.
Yeah.
But the week turned out good. He didn't forget me, and it turned out to be a memorable game with Doug Williams, and them coming back to beat the Broncos.
Yeah.
So. Those are fun, but nothing could ever top seeing Eli win his first one.
Yeah.
You see somebody just like y'all have. Y'all watched him grow up,
right?
And in the scene in a setting like that, playing against Bill Belichick, against Tom Brady, and all that, and he does what he does, and that was just I really was so happy, not just for Eli, but for Archie, and Olivia, because. I just know how much it meant to them.
Well, we all being from Mississippi and all, Archie, we loved him and watched him and just felt so sorry for him, what he had to go through in the NFL. And you see his children, it really, I get what you're saying. It really is special because, who doesn't love the Mannings? Who doesn't love Archie? How could you not? And being happy for him, that's a beautiful thing.
You're not a very good person if you don't like Archie. I tell you what.
That's right.
They don't come any better.
Yeah.
But the NFL owed Archie something because he certainly gave a lot and didn't get a lot back because he, like you said earlier about being surrounded by people. He's told me, and I'm sure probably told you. I'd go in a huddle sometime and I didn't even know some of the people in there. They just picked them up that week, and. But I think he's getting paid back in on the good side of the ledger now with Peyton and Eli. Those guys, and Cooper's got Arch coming up. So, but those guys, Eli and Peyton, they are printing money. They are everywhere right now. So.
Well, I'm going to say this.
I'm happy for them.
And I think I read somewhere in the last year where one of them, it might have been Eli, had a children's show that was going to start. And I'm just saying, they're just expanding their brand into the next generation. They're doing it right, man. Those guys
They're smart now.
Man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, them. They got a great sense of humor. I mean, they really do. They're smart. They got a great sense of humor. They're good with people, and it's a phenomenal thing what they've done post career, and didn't waste much time to do it. I really thought Eli might go into the front office for the Giants and kind of get really involved there, and I think he thought about it for a while. But boy, he is now veered completely away from that.
Yeah.
And is like we say, printing money.
Well, listen, I hate to bring this up, but we're out of time, Billy, and I wish we could spend all day with you.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, well, listen, I'm going to ask you to hang on just a minute. I'm going to get out of this segment. Just hang on with us just a minute. We're going to take a break right now to hear from some of our sponsors, and then Dale and I'll be back with tonight's final segment right after this commercial.
Phillips Building Supply in Laurel, your hometown building supply store since 1954. We are locally owned and pride ourselves on helping our customers find exactly what they need. From foundations to roofs to doors and windows, Phillips has it. For tools, hardware, lumber, and plywood, visit Phillips Building Supply.
Welcome back, everybody. Well, as promised, you done good with Billy.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
You done good with Billy.
He's a great interview.
Yeah, we just got just a couple of minutes, and let's go back to talk a little more about Super Bowl. Let's talk a little dollars and cents here in terms of the players. Question: how much will the winners of the Super Bowl get if you win? You know the number, Dale. I got it. I had the privilege to look it up.
Well, I think we've discussed this one other time too. It's 157,000, isn't it?
164,000.
64.
Mm-hmm. Okay, it might have been 157 last year.
164 and 82.
164,000. All righty. Next year it'll be 171,000.
Okay.
But that's for the winners. The losers don't make quite so much. This year, 89,000.
Okay.
Not a bad day's work.
No.
Next year, if you lose, you'll get 96.
And they got money. Those other games they won too.
Yeah. Adds up, doesn't it?
Yep, it sure does.
Oh, no. Let's see what else I had on here. I want to talk about. Oh, let's just do a quick run through here on some of the power ranking college football conferences. Let's drop down to the NCAA. Following the 2024 realignment. I'm just going to blow through this. Number 9, Conference USA is number 9. That's as low as you can get out of this, what they're showing here for the power ranking college football conference. Mm-hmm. Number 9 USA. I want to just, Southern was in that conference, right?
Yeah, and they got out.
And they went to what?
Sun Belt.
The Sun Belt. The Sun Belt is the highest ranking non-Power 5 conference.
Well, they got some good teams.
They're number 5.
Well, let's see.
So they've got 4 conferences ahead of them.
Yeah, they got James Madison, Coastal Carolina, Louisiana Lafayette.
Yes, sir.
They got some good programs.
Appalachia State.
I think South Alabama's a good program.
They are. Mm-hmm. I tell you what, we've talked about how they hurting Southern on the recruiting in the Mobile and the Florida Panhandle. But the top. I was proud of Southern. They came out of they made a big improvement on their conference. I just wanted to throw that out there. They went from
it's more regional for us too. To play a Lafayette every year, or a Monroe, or a South Alabama, or a Troy. Yeah. I mean, they're within driving distance if you wanted to go.
Right.
So those are big pluses.
Yeah. Do a quick rundown. Conference USA was 9, the MAC is 8, the American Conference is 7, Mountain West is 6, the Sun Belt we talked about is 5th. The ACC, bless their hearts, is number 4. That's one Florida State's in, ain't it?
Well, I tell you what, if Miami would get good again, I guarantee you they'd move up.
Yeah, Miami. Yes, sir. Big 12 is number 3, and number 2, the Big 10, and number 1, the old SEC.
Well, I was reading, I just scanned something, and I didn't really go into depth the article. I see that the SEC and the Big 10 are going to have a joint deal, and I don't know what it means, but with the 16 teams from each conference, that's 32 teams. And I'm wondering, okay, are we gonna have our own division, just us?
I imagine they are. That's been talked about something like in the works for quite some time, hasn't it?
Well, yeah, and that'd be almost a national football league, 32 teams.
Yeah, imagine that.
Isn't there 32 teams in the NFL?
Yeah, something like that.
So, you know.
Well, Dale, we're having fun.
We are.
We've had fun. I have. I can't speak for you.
Okay.
I can't speak for Billy, but I can speak for me. And I tell you what, I've had fun.
Okay.
And I thank you for the fun that you've allowed me to have today.
Well,
But you know what? In spite of all the fun, you know what time it is? Do you know?
No.
It's time to say goodbye, Dale.
Oh, goodbye, Dale.
Well, goodbye, Dale. But before I say goodbye, Dale's already said goodbye. Remember, you can follow us during the week on our Facebook page and our YouTube channel, and both of them are under the title of the Brouhaha. That being said, it is time to say goodbye. We're saying goodbye and get us out of here. Jamie, we'll see you next week for more of the Brouhaha.
You've been listening to the Brouhaha with Dale McKee and Marshall Wood. Heard Tuesday evening, 6 p.m. on WABO. For more of the Brouhaha, follow us during the week on Facebook and WABO.